a lot of times we look at a linear system for studying a region, like the Mississippi River, or we just did a project about the Hudson River, put out a book about it, looking at the shoreline of the river between New York City and Albany, essentially. These two kind of poles, one the sort of political base, one the economic base, the relationship of the two, and the things that occur between them that represent kind of that relationship of the two things, the back space versus front space, and different kinds of power, and you know, looking at not just the sort of history, but the contemporary view, looking backwards. I mean, we always look at the contemporary first. We're not historians. We'll go into history if it's required, but generally we're telling the story of the things that are directly obvious in front of us, that are occupied and in use or recently abandoned, and describe, you know, those things from the present backwards. So the view of the Hudson looks at this physical line of the river and the shorelines on either side. And that way we were able to both sort of characterize a region, but also provide a kind of a obvious narrative flow between, you know, the structure for telling the story based on the landscape from one end to the other. So it's called upriver, and we begin at Battery Park and work our way up to the first physical obstruction across the river, which is the dam at Troy, New York. You know, 120 river miles or so up from Manhattan, and the end of the tidal portion of the river. So it seemed like a good sort of ending point. So we kind of structured the book and the story and the exhibit all along that model of going upriver, and that was very much to evoke, you know, the population center, New York City, trying to sort of draw their attention and their minds up the river too. To get them out of New York City and see the world beyond New York City. God bless the New Yorkers, but they do often, they need to get out more often.